Guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I want to talk about mental health and anxiety and depression after sustaining a brain injury. I'm going to talk about what happens after a brain injury to your mental health, or at least what happened to myself, why these things happen after sustaining a brain injury, and how you can overcome some of these obstacles surrounding mental health. This is just my opinion and my own personal experience with my own mental health. So let's get into it. Okay, first I want to talk about my own mental health. After I sustained my injury, the first 3 to 6 months were probably the hardest. Life came to a halt. Everything that I knew as normal completely stopped. I was feeling terrible inside. I looked terrible on the outside, at least to myself, I did. I didn't feel like myself. It was very strange. And I stopped working. And I just didn't have any answers. So it was all very taxing on me mentally. And I fell into a really deep depression. I want to say 2 months out. And, I ended up losing my job. And then I also couldn't work at the same time. So there was this feeling of failure going on there. I didn't know what was happening to me. And this feeling in my head and in my body. I just didn't know how to navigate this new life, this new normal that was, life after a head injury. So I really started feeling really sorry for myself, and my mental health just took a complete nosedive, where before my brain injury, I was at a pretty stable point with my mental health. I wasn't even going to therapy at the time. I was on no medications, and I was just, living life and using the tools that I had learned previously to navigate any kind of issues. But this was different. This was a different type of mental anguish. It wasn't just outside things that were affecting me or stressing me out. This was an internal battle. So it was definitely a shock to the system. And not only the depression, but also the anxiety. After a brain injury, our anxiety is heightened. Our senses are heightened, whether it's visually or auditory. Just your body is in this fight or flight kind of mode. There were times where I thought I was having a heart attack every single day. I'm convinced that something's going on. So yeah, the anxiety and depression definitely are elevated post brain injury. As of right now, and I'm 3.5 years later, I still do have issues with my mental health. I'm at a stable point right now, but I do tend to cycle. It's not a bipolar cycle, but there's definitely valleys of depression, and then moments and periods of moderate highs where I'm feeling pretty good. I'm feeling like I can be productive and things like that. But, I try to stay on top of it and manage my mental health. Let's get into why this happens after a brain injury. So a brain injury basically changes the way that we process our emotions. Some wires get crossed, or you get a hit to the head in a certain spot, and it really just affects the way that we think and the way that we react and the way that our emotions process. The actual trauma of the injury can also affect the mental health, depending on the severity, or, it doesn't have to be a severe brain injury. It can be a moderate or a mild brain injury. An injury to the brain is an injury to the brain, regardless of the severity of the injury. So, just the simple trauma or whatever happened, that can cause an effect to your mental health as well. Dealing with new life, new normal. If you have to go to therapies constantly, and you have to kind of keep up with, insurance, and you have to keep up with paperwork and doctor's appointments, and it all is like very stressful, and that causes like some mental health flare-ups as well, whether it's like anxiety over what's going on or what's going to happen, or how am I going to like survive if I can't work, and all those stressors. They cause anxiety, they cause depression, and that is why we go through what we go through. Next thing I want to talk about is how we can help ourselves during this time when we are dealing with mental health issues, be it anxiety or depression or both, or a combination of any other kind of mental health issue. I guess how you can sort of help yourself to battle and manage your mental health. There are a couple different ways. One is obviously talk to a therapist, whether it is a talk therapist or a psychologist, a psychiatrist, anybody who, your PCP, anybody who you can kind of talk to get a better understanding of what's going on, and just to help you manage those emotions and those feelings and anything that might come up during that time. You can also get help by use of medication. Some people aren't for medication, but in some circumstances it really is needed and it is helpful. It can, save lives and really pull you out of that dark place and sort of manage all of those like fears and the anxieties and anything that might come up, and just keep you at a stable sort of level. Another thing is supplements and keeping yourself healthy, eating the right types of foods. All that plays a part in your brain health. Exercise as well, any kind of like movements that you can do, get out and walk and fresh air, things like that. That's always helpful, brain injury or not. Another way is to socialize with people. Brain injuries can be pretty isolating, and especially if you're not going to work, you're not going to a job, and you're used to being around people, having an injury where you're sort of isolated like that can be really debilitating to your mental health. Socialize when you can, when you feel well enough to. And then overall, I think self-care and like self-love is the most important way to manage your mental health. You have to, love yourself and care enough about yourself to want to do these things, to recognize that like, hey, something isn't right. I'm not feeling the best. Maybe I need to reach out to a therapist. Maybe I need to talk to my doctor about medication. Maybe I haven't been eating the best or taking care of myself physically. So some exercise, will do me good. Maybe I've been avoiding my friends or my family. So maybe I should socialize and get a little bit of interaction and stimulation that way. So yeah, mental health is an important part of our lives just as much as physical health is, and I'm always a major proponent of that, whether it's meditation or any kind of other therapies and things like that. So mental health is important, especially after a brain injury. Our brain and our bodies are going through a lot, so it really is important to take care of yourself and make sure that you keep your mental health in check. Managing mental health is important. So that's all I have for today. Leave a comment down below. Let us know how you manage your mental health, or if you have had any struggles. This is a safe space to talk about that. Make sure you like the video and hit the subscribe button for me. I would really appreciate it. And that's it for today. I'll see you in the next one.